Hey friends, welcome to the Publish, Promote, Profit podcast. I'm Rob Kosberg, and every week I show you how to use a best-selling book to grow your income and your impact. And if you're interested in having your own best-selling book, I recorded a short video explaining our trademarked process at beginmybook.com. So welcome everybody, it's Rob here to Publish, Promote, Profit. This is in particular our BSPU call, and of course we'll do Q&A at the end of this, but I had a conversation just this past week with a really successful marketer, and he had a referral for me of a really big client that wanted our help with a big book launch that they want done. This particular client wrote a book on branding, and they're very, very big, meaning that they have been, they've paid for Super Bowl advertising. They're very, very well known. This is the first book that they're going to be doing that they have done. And they went to the publisher. Of course, the publisher, did what traditional publishers do and signed them up to write this book. And then they were horrified to find out that the traditional publisher wasn't going to do anything to market the book and expected them to do everything to market it. So this particular marketer that I was speaking to, a buddy of mine, said, hey, I'd like to refer them to you because they really need a lot of help in marketing their book. And I said, hey, obviously, would love to talk to them, would love to help if I can. I said, but to be quite honest, I don't know if they're really our ideal client. And I share that to begin because many of you who are our clients may hear that and think, well, why wouldn't they be? Here's a company that has, millions and millions of dollars, right? If they've bought Super Bowl ad space, they have millions of dollars to pour in. And I have a call with them for later in the week, and I'm excited about that call. I would love to help them, but I always want to manage the expectations of a client that comes on. And he told me, the reason I said they may not be a good fit is he told me, said, this client, it needs this book to be like, to go incredible, and needs this book to sell potentially hundreds of thousands of copies. I said, well, when I heard that, I got concerned. First of all, I got concerned because it's a book on branding, and branding doesn't have a massive audience, right? It's not like a book on finance or self-help or, that potentially has millions of buyers. This is a book on branding. So it's narrowed to business owners. It's narrowed to business owners that are interested in branding. And really what they want to use it for is, of course, to continue growing and branding their own business, which that's the whole idea and purpose. But what concerned me was at least his statement that they needed to sell hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of copies of their book. And look, no marketing campaign by itself, unless you're willing to do one for a 2-year period, is going to sell hundreds of thousands or millions of copies of a book. The problem is this company is focused on all the wrong things when it comes to their book. They're thinking about the wrong things. And it got me thinking, this conversation got me thinking, and of course I'll keep you updated. I hope we bring them on as a client. I hope I can shift their thinking a little bit. But it got me thinking about you. Those of you that have a book or in the process of doing a book, are you thinking about the wrong things when it comes to your book and when it comes to building your business? Now, I have some things here behind me that I want to go over with you. And don't worry about the numbers, because I just picked numbers out of a hat, and your numbers may have 2 or 3 extra zeros. Those numbers may be too large for you to wrap your head around. Don't worry about the numbers. We just needed some kind of metrics to work from. So when it comes to whether or not you are potentially thinking about the wrong things with your book and your business, you need to understand, first and foremost, that all of us are really in 2 businesses. We are in the business of doing the thing that we do, right? I'm in the business of helping clients to ghostwrite, publish, do book marketing and launches, and media and PR. I am in that business, right? So if someone at a party were to ask me, Rob, what do you do? Well, if I wanted to have a conversation with them, I might not answer this way. If I didn't want to have a conversation about what I do, I might say, well, I publish books, because that ends it right there, right? There's nothing else to know. But the reality is that's not really what I think about all day, every day, or at least most of the day, every day. I think about my other business as associated with book marketing, book publishing, ghostwriting, media, and PR. And that is the business of marketing and growing and being the chief evangelist of bestseller publishing. That is a business completely separate in and of itself. And let me tell you, no one thinks about that more than I do as the leader of bestseller publishing. So in the same way, you do whatever it is that you do, and that you, in an expert way, bring that magic to the world. The problem is, if no one knows the magic that you potentially bring to the world, then what good is that? And so your chief aim and focus needs to make sure that somebody, and you can't outsource this, I assure you, you can't, at least not in the beginning. You can get some help as you move along. You can find a Steve, you can find a Cole, you can find others to do things, to shoot video, to edit, all that. But when it comes to really thinking about the business of growing your business, that is your responsibility. That is my responsibility. So I wanted to think about some of the most basic things, and I wrote those things out. I want you to think about the most basic things when it comes to the business of growing your business. The first thing that we need when it comes to the business of growing your business is we need some metrics. We need some numbers to go off of. So let's start first with what your monthly income goal is. Let's say that you've had a successful financial services practice, and now you want to start consulting or coaching financial service providers, or fill in the blank, right? Maybe you've been doing the thing that you're doing right now for a long time, but your monthly income goal, and the example that I used here, is $40,000 a month. Okay, we need to start somewhere. So let's say that this fictitious business, the focus, the metrics start with wanting to earn an income of $40,000 a month. Now, I don't want to talk about the cost of advertising or the cost of fulfillment or any of those things. I'm just talking about the simplest of metrics. So the second thing we need to decide on, or we need to at least know, is, okay, what is our average client value, or what is the cost of our program? Let's say things are simple. We don't have a dozen different things to offer. Let's say we have one primary thing that we're offering, and that primary thing we're offering is $8,000. So an average client's value to our company is $8,000. So simple math, we need 5 clients a month to earn our monthly income goal of $40,000. The third thing we need to know from the standpoint of metrics is, okay, what is our closing rate? Whatever our process is, and let's say that if we're selling something for $8,000, our process needs to involve a telephone call, right? And in a smaller business like this is probably a phone call with you directly. So we need to know, okay, out of how many phone calls, does a new client come on? How many does it take? And so let's say that your closing rate is 25%, which is modest, that you're not a hardcore salesman, you're not great at sales, but you have quality people coming in your funnel. Why? Because you're using your book, and your book pre-qualifies people. It frames you as the authority and the expert, right? So how many calls do you need to bring on these 5 clients? In this scenario, you need 20 calls, 20 qualified quality leads a month to come into your funnel. Now, when you break down the metrics in such a way, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And I assure you, it is not overwhelming. This is a modest business proposal. $8,000, a modest offer. $40,000 as a monthly goal, modest. So now your entire focus needs to be, right? What you're now focusing on for business number 1, not the business of what you do, but business number 1 being the evangelist of your business. Your focus becomes, how do I get 20 calls a month using my book, right? Because your book is what pre-qualifies them. When they see that you've written a book called Publish, Promote, Profit, The New Rules of Writing, Marketing, and Making Money with a Book, then guess what? You can be assured that the person buying this or the person requesting this wants to write a book, wants to make money with their book, wants to understand the new rules of writing, marketing, making money. Person that wants this and raises their hand for it is already pre-qualifying themselves. Second step, because I am the author of the book, and we all know how hard it is to write a book, I'm pre-framed as the authority to this person that wants it. I am the expert that wrote about it. Thirdly, if I've done my book properly, my book is filled with case studies of examples of clients that I have successfully helped to navigate the waters of making money, writing a book, marketing it, and making money with it. So now as they read it, they are further pre-framed to see me as the authority and the expert. So how do I use my book then? This becomes your focus now. This is what we need to be thinking about, right? We start off this whole premise with, are we thinking about the right things? We understand what our metrics are. Now we see, okay, my thought needs to be, how do I, on a regular basis, get 20 people that want to have a telephone call with me because of my book, because I've used my book to attract those people to me? So there are 3 ways to get your book out in front of people, and only 3 primary ways. They're what I call your platform. The 3 different kinds of platform, everything else falls below these 3, are you can have a paid platform, which I obviously love, paid advertising on Google AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, you name it. You can have paid ads as your platform to get your book in front of your audience. Number 2, you can go on other people's stages and platforms. How would you do that? Well, you could go on their TV show with PR media. You could go on their podcast. You could be featured in their blog. You could do a speaking engagement on their stage. So you have other people's platforms, or, which is really cool, you could have your own platform. What is your own platform? Running your own podcast, running your own blog, your own social media, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, right? Just one-on-one, reaching out and building relationships on LinkedIn is your own platform that you control. Your own speaking engagements, right? Your own stages is a platform that you can control. So you have to decide, of these 3 main platforms, which are the things that I am going to do and focus on to get my 20 calls a month, right? Again, using my book. Now, you know what I love. However, I've expanded because I understand the power of all 3 of these platforms. But to get just 20 calls a month is not hard on one or more of these platforms. You need to spend your mental energy and focus on figuring out which one of these platforms, or which maybe subset of one of these platforms, am I going to focus on. Now, I can give you a suggestion, but there are hundreds or thousands of people that are going to be watching this. So it's going to range from one person to the next. I love paid marketing and advertising. But remember, I'm not trying to get 20 phone calls a month. I'm trying to get hundreds of calls a month because I have a team that are taking these calls. I'm not the one that's taking these calls. In fact, all I ever speak to as far as potential new clients are people that are directly referred to me by trusted clients and people that I care about in my sphere of influence. That's it. Every other single lead that comes through that bought my book, that fills out an application because of paid advertising, is speaking to one of our author development coaches. Now, you may want to get to that point, or you may already be at that point in your business. Fantastic. Then you're going to think about using things like free plus shipping funnels. That's what I use with this. That's what I use with my workbook, right? Maybe you're going to think about doing some type of 30-day challenge, which I'm going to be rolling out in the next few months. I'm doing a new book, of course, on legacy, because I'm going to be focusing on legacy books for baby boomers who are interested in leaving more than just money to their children as an inheritance, but they want to leave their stories and their examples and their life in the form of a book. I think that's a great market, so I am writing a book on that. So there's lots of different ways that you can reach this. You can also use case study funnels, all different kinds of funnels. You can use just a PDF version and have a free download. You know why I like free plus shipping. I'm not going to go into it. But this is what I focus on. Now, of all of these, paid advertising is, I would dare say, is both the most difficult to master and has the largest upside. Because when you master paid advertising, being able to put $1 in the machine and get $2 or $3 out, then you can always create a new offer and have a new flood of people coming into your business via paid advertising. However, you don't want to attack this without a serious focus and a willingness to make a lot of mistakes and spend the tuition. Sometimes the tuition is in paying somebody for help. Sometimes the tuition is in paying for ads that just don't work. So understand, there's a cost involved, but the upside is very high. For anybody that just needs 20 calls, there's a number of free ways that you can use other people's platform or your own platform to get those 20 calls. For example, if you love creating content, and let's say that you're good at speaking, then you absolutely should have a podcast that you're doing. You don't have to worry about creating new content every single week, but if you like doing that like I do, then fantastic. What you could do is you could interview other successful people, and you could grow an organic audience with very little to no cost at all, and engage with people that are your ideal clients. In fact, there's an entire podcast strategy where what podcasters do is they try to interview their ideal clients, and through that relationship, they actually bring them on as clients. What a fantastic strategy. Using your own platform to build a big audience, and at the same time, the very people that you're interviewing become potential clients of yours. Great strategy. So if that's something that you enjoy, guess what? Every single podcast episode, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be talking about, hey, if you'd like a free copy of my book, Publish, Promote, Profit, then look, I want to give that to you. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Go to publishpromoteprofit.com, and you're going to be able to get a copy of my book. Don't pay $24.95 on Amazon. Get it for free. You get the idea, right? Just gave you the whole pitch there, even though you're my clients, right? The idea is that you want to find where you're most comfortable and where you can really focus your attention on that particular part of the platform, that subset of that platform. You know, if you love public speaking, guess what? You should be sending your books out to conferences, associations, etc., to get in front of other people's audiences as the expert on your subject matter. As you know, I've talked about many times, we've had clients make as much as $700,000 from one speaking engagement. One speaking engagement, 700 grand, speaking on somebody else's stage. You can do that, right? Depending again on these metrics, but maybe that's something you love. If you know anything about me, you know that that's not what I love. I love to speak and I do my own events, etc., but I don't like to travel and go speak on other people's stages. I like being home. I like playing golf. I like my dogs. I love sleeping in the same bed with my wife. I love seeing my children on a regular basis. That's just not for me. Some people love the travel and experience. You need to figure out what it is that you love, and you need to dive deep in that thing, okay? What Bestseller Publishing does is we try to give you a well-rounded look at all of these things. Obviously, I can give a very, very well-rounded look at paid advertising because we spend $50,000 a month plus on paid advertising. It works really well for us. By the same token, we do our own live events. I create content, put it on my blog, have a big email list that I email, right? Obviously, PR and media, TV, radio. We try to give you an overview of all of these things, but here's the thing. You can't do them all. You can't, nor should you try. What you need to be thinking about, and this is why I wanted to have this discussion because even a massive successful business like the one I shared about in the beginning that is only thinking about selling hundreds of thousands of their books, when this is a big company, and what they should be thinking about instead is, how can I use my book? How can we use this new book that we're publishing to get more high-ticket clients into our branding company? That's what they should be thinking about. Not how to sell hundreds of thousands of copies. Who cares if they sell hundreds of thousands of copies? They can't bring on hundreds of thousands of new customers. What they need to be doing instead is thinking about how to use the book to get in front of their ideal client, get more phone calls for their sales staff, and grow their business. When you focus on the right things, let me tell you, $40,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $1 million a month is not out of bounds. All you have to do is get your numbers right to begin with, and then you need to think, how am I going to get my book that positions me as the authority and the expert in front of my ideal client? Which platform am I going to use? And as you master one, let's say you start doing a podcast, and 6 or 8 months from now, you have an audience of 10 or 20,000 people. Maybe you're getting 10, 20, 50,000 downloads a month, which you can do. If you're good, if you're entertaining, if you have good guests on, then guess what? You'll be, without the cost of any advertising, you'll be getting people into your funnel every single day by talking about your book and offering it to people in your podcast. When you get good at that, you may transition into, having those podcast episodes become blog posts or emails, or maybe you want to begin getting on TV, or maybe you want to do 3 or 4 speaking engagements a year. Whatever it is, you need to figure out what you need to be thinking about. We start with the metrics. You figure out what your metrics are. Then you have a number. Here's what I need to do. I need to get 20 calls a month to hit this number. How am I going to get 20 qualified calls a month? And you pick one of these 3 platforms to dive deep in. When you go deep, you're going to go successful. Hey, I hope that helps you. Whether you're a big company, whether you're just starting out, these are the things that you need to think about. And when you're a business owner and you're writing a great book, it's not about your book selling millions of copies. If it does that, hey, that's icing on the cake. But your book doesn't need to sell millions of copies for you to make millions of dollars and to be seen as the authority celebrity in your space. It just needs to get in front of the right people. Hopefully that helps you today and gives you the right things to think about as far as what you're going to do with your business. Hey, thanks for listening in on the Publish, Promote, Profit podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a minute and like and subscribe to the podcast, because every week I bring you either great guests or great teaching to help you to grow your income and your impact with a best-selling book. And if you're interested in having your own best-selling book, check out my short video which explains our trademark process at beginmybook.com.